associations with. So we're going to be having a lot of people introduce themselves from homeowners associations that you've never even heard of before. And I want to thank those of you who came from the west side and are over here now to introduce yourselves to the Upper East Side. And the reason why we went with the Miami Northeast Corridor community and how we decided to divide that off was our natural boundaries are 36th Street to the south, I-95 to the west, and Biscayne Bay, and of course 87th Street to the north. So that's why we decided to do this. The other thing is that Miami Avenue, 2nd Avenue, Northwest 2nd Avenue, and Biscayne Boulevard share some of the same problems as far as corridors and being commercial corridors surrounded by neighborhood associations. And for the most part, suburban neighborhoods in the middle of an urban environment. So I want you to wrap your heads around that. We are, for the most part, live on fairly large lots in the middle of an urban center. So we share that in common. So that was one of the other reasons. So what we did was I asked CIP director to address all the present projects that we have up here in that boundary area and to find out why those projects haven't been completed, number one. Number two, and which they did, they sent their man up here. Number two, I wanted our zoning guy, or beg my pardon, planning and zoning to come up because we know that we've got some issues in our neighborhoods that don't work for us. Like we have properties that are non-conforming uses and things of that nature, and we also have some other ancillary problems that we need to address from a planning and zoning perspective. So that was the reason why Francisco Garcia is here. Then, of course, the other issue that we had was is code compliance, and Jessica Capo is here from code compliance. And I also asked her to bring, which I'm so glad that they came, are the ladies to my right, the ladies to your left, who are code enforcement officers, so you can put a face with the people who work in your district that write out the tickets for people who are non-code compliant. And you will have a chance to know who they are and to meet them. So that was another thing, because I wanted faces put with the names, so when you get those things, you know, oh, okay, I know who that girl is now. So, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to offer every homeowner's, and we're going to start alphabetically, to stand up and introduce yourself. And we're going to start off with Bayside, because we're just doing it in alphabetical order. So Bayside, and just tell people who you are and what you represent. And you read that. Okay.
Hello. I'm not in front of the Go in the middle. Sorry, not public speaking. My name is Timothy Priano, and I serve on the board of directors for Bayside Residential Association. Tonight, I'm reading the statement on behalf of Shane Garber, the president of the Bayside Residents Association, who sends his regrets that he could not be here as he had a death in the family and had unexpectedly fly to Boston. For Bayside, we continue to work with the city leaders and staff to request the best possible code enforcement, public safety, historical preservation, and parks maintenance. Although we have not had any much luck in replacing our decrepit and dangerous park benches and trash bins in Baywood Park, despite trying for over 2 years. We are in the planning process as we speak to create the Bayside Greenway Plan and Legion Park Plan, which will connect our physical dividing neighbors through a pedestrian-friendly greenway. We will soon approach the mayor and Francesco Garcia and the Planning Commission, Zoning Department to share our vision for the plan, which among other benefits for the community will include upgrading the amenities and creating a master plan for the Baywood and Legion Parks in accordance with the City of Miami Parks Master Plan. We also seek to upgrade our aged streetlights in the Bayside Historical District to more accurately reflect the original decorative street lamps for our streets, similar to the new lamps in Little Haiti and Buena Vista. The city's historical districts need to be showcased for great cities, and this should be an important reflection of both physical asset and preservation efforts. Code enforcement, and more specifically lack thereof, is a huge issue in our neighborhood. Studies show that a lack of code enforcement and crime go hand in hand. So this is a matter of public safety as well as enforcing the law. This is especially true not just in Bayside, but just west of us in Palm Grove, which is also a historical district, which we also have great challenges with code enforcement, and this creates issues not just in Palm Grove, but all over the neighborhoods east of Biscayne, as well as west of the railroad tracks. Our code enforcement team is hardworking and dedicated, yet they are overworked, understaffed, and not given the proper resources to protect our neighborhoods. We need more code enforcement officers, including an especially trained historical district code enforcement team like we used to have. We have excellent professional and responsive police force, but they are too understaffed and under-resourced. We are under a new crime wave not seen in years. Crime has actually increased over the past 6 months in our neighborhood, and this is hurting the area, with home burglaries, car break-ins at a new high. Last, we fully support the efforts to improve Biscayne Boulevard into the Mimo Historical District, northeast 61st to 77th Streets on Biscayne Boulevard, through traffic calming, on-street parking, mediums, landscaping, and new street furniture. This is the entrance gateway to the city of Miami, and should be treated as the city's grand promenade, welcoming locals and visitors alike, whether on foot or on a bicycle or by car. Bayside is among the Upper East Side's most popular and diverse neighborhoods, with thousands of residents spanning from northeast 61st to northeast 72nd, east of Biscayne Boulevard. Our neighbors include Bayside Historical District, which is comprised of single-family homes. We also have duplex apartments and several condos. Palm Bay Tower, Palm Bay Condo, Palm Bay Yacht Club, the Clipper, Nirvana, and Isis on the Bay, to name a few. We respectfully ask for resources and priorities given to the neighborhoods.
Thank you. He had some time to write that one. The next one is Bay Point. Is anybody here from Bay Point to represent Bay Point? The rich and famous to the south? No. All right, how about Bel Air? The not so rich and famous. Thank you.
Oh, thanks. No,
Hi, I'm Kelly Crawford. I'm the president of the Bel Air Homeowner Neighborhood Association and also serve on the B5 Coalition. I don't know if this is my 2 minutes of fame to talk about any issues. The only thing I'm sure you're going to hear this echoed because we did a meeting in your office about our concept house issue. And the other thing I want to talk really quickly about are the conditions of our curbs and sidewalks in that area. Pretty much because I can tell you I have 10 disabled people, 2 of them blind, walking on the sidewalks right now. And I think in the 1970s when we planted these trees, we didn't think about 45 years from now how invasive the root systems would be, the damage that it's causing, and I think that that's something we need to look at. I'm under the understanding that DACRA has full-grown trees to contribute into the Bel Air, Buena Vista, and Brentwood neighborhoods that I'd be willing to take in and put on those blocks if we can find some way to repair this one block.
Kelly, why don't you tell them what your neighborhood is? Why don't you tell them?
Our neighborhood runs from 51st to 49th, from Northeast 2nd to North Miami Avenue.
There you go. Thank you so much. We're going to have more questions and answers. Really what this is about is for you guys just to introduce your neighborhoods, because like I said, many of you this is the first time you've ever been in front of a lot of these people. So I'd appreciate just letting us know where you're. The next one up is Belmead. Is there anybody here from Belmead? Come on, Frank. Just tell them about Belmead, for crying out loud. You've lived there long enough. I know he's not a representative, so I'll clean that up right now.
Good evening, everybody. Frank Rollison. Oh, I'm sorry. Got to get on.
Gotta get on TV.
Video for. I'm from Belmead. I was on the board for many years. I'm not anymore. I took a position with a municipality, and so I have to try to behave. So I haven't been writing in the Biscayne Times and slamming everybody. But anyway, we have a wonderful neighborhood that runs from the east side of the boulevard, from 72nd Terrace up to 77th Terrace, and from the boulevard to the bay. And we have about 400 homes, and Belmead Island is there, 50 homes on the island. And it's a wonderful neighborhood, and we all have issues like the rest of you do, different degrees of different problems. We have infrastructure problems, we have crime problems, and maybe not the same level of crime that there are in other areas in District 5, that's for sure. but we have issues that are there that need to be addressed. And it's a great place to live, and it's got a beautiful little park, and you all are welcome to come there. Got a beautiful kiddie park that's been written up several times, and so you're certainly all welcome to come and use that facility.
Thank you very much.
I'll save my complaining for later if I have to.
Yes, yes, complain later. Okay, Brentwood. Anybody here from Brentwood? Does anybody know? You then come up here and just say where your neighborhood is. Give the kid to dad. Hand off. It's like a football at that age. Just tell us about Brentwood and what it's been like.
Hi. So Brentwood is from about I think it's 41st to 48th, right? Goes right up against Archbishop Curley between North to East 2nd Avenue and the railroad tracks. And I know a couple of issues that we have right now is that Northeast 2nd Avenue is a mess, right? Yes. Right, going through our neighborhood. It's all fixed up nice and pretty just south of us and just north of us. And it's really bad. It's really bad. It's dark. We had somebody got killed across the street. I have to tell people that park there and not to stand where they're standing because people just come around the corner really fast and aren't really paying attention. And then also with all the increased train traffic we're going to be seeing right there, there's a lot of people that work right like a Publix. So our street is like a
walkthrough.
It's the walkthrough, and then they've basically cut open a hole in the fence. So now I hear that there's train detectives out there ticketing people who are crossing the railroad tracks, which I can understand because there's going to be because there's no horns and somebody could get killed really easily. But there has to be some kind of pedestrian access there at that point.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know.
Because it's only 54th and 35th.
Yeah, it's the only access point between 36th Street and 54th Street. You can't get across.
And in these communities, everybody's really pedestrian friendly.
Yeah.
So remember that.
Kelly, it's not your turn.
And then there's a lot of stray dogs. A lot of stray dogs. A neighbor's dog just got named the other day by another dog while he was on the fence, and the other dog wasn't on a leash. The other dog wasn't on a leash, and no one really wants to take ownership for these dogs. So, thank you.
Buena Vista East. This is Mr. Jerome Schiller.
My name is Schiller Jerome, president of Buena Vista East. Historic Association. Our neighborhood ranges from 42nd Street to 48th Street, Northeast 2nd Avenue to North Miami Ave. One of our first concerns is in regard to CIP is the fact that we do have a traffic calming project that we've been working on for the past 2 years as it relates to street markings and one-way projects. Currently, right now, because of the fact that our streets were built in the 20s, it's very narrow in the fact that you have to park on one side. But the problem is that there's no street marking, so you have cars parked in the corner where it basically makes it dangerous for you to make a turn. And for the past 3 years, we've been discussing this with our past commission, our current commission, also with the CIP director, as far as doing the traffic calming project, as far as shifting traffic to a one-way, so that way we can kind of control what's going on. As you guys know, we have the design district, which is blossoming and is excellent. We have a great restaurant road, which is coming over 2nd Avenue. But as a neighborhood, we're also concerned about how much traffic it's going to bring in. So we are looking for a balance. And we're hoping that when Northeast 2nd Avenue gets completed, and I second the lady that came up earlier, it's ridiculous how Northeast 2nd Avenue looks today, and we're still talking about it's not going to happen until next year. As far as code compliance, one of my biggest concerns with code compliance is the fact that I know Ms. Coppola now has a good relationship. I know that there's 5 historic districts in the east side, which is this corridor, and I think it'd be good if every code enforcement officer has a special training as it relates to the historic district. Because what happens is, for example, in certain neighborhoods, you can't have pebble rock in the front yards, but in historic districts, it's not allowed. So there's some tweaks and some things in which that affect only historic districts, which doesn't affect any other districts, that I think if everyone is well versed on it, it'll help alleviate any kind of tension. And I'm hoping to see more coordination between historic preservation and code enforcement, so that way we can address the issues as a team. As far as planning and zoning, we see the development that's coming across on Northeast 2nd Avenue, and we love it. We think it's a good thing, but we want to know exactly where does the business end and the residential start. Because what happens is, as much as we love the businesses, we still want to protect ourselves as far as encroachment, to make sure that our neighborhood is still lively and still made for families. So we are looking for a long-term vision as far as the zoning of North Second Avenue, North Miami Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, Buena Vista Heights. Front and center, young man.
My name is Ulysses Kemp, President of Buena Vista Heights Neighborhood Association, and also a member of the B5 Coalition. The boundaries are from Northwest 38th Street south to Northwest 54th Street north, and east North Miami Avenue, west to Northwest 2nd Avenue. And we have a lot of concerns with the code enforcement in our area as far as abandoned houses and people that are hiding and doing drug activities in these houses. They're not boarded up. And we also have concerns with Northwest 2nd Avenue corridor, which is one of the main corridors of the neighborhood. And I've lived there since 1963, and these streets have not been repaid since I've lived in that neighborhood. And if anyone knows that area, when it rains, those streets are completely flooded. You can't get through without having a problem with that. And we were concerned about Northwest 41st Avenue. The cars think that's like North Miami Avenue, which is another problem. They come speeding down there, that corridor, and most of the stop signs, they just run those. There's no way to control it, and we would like to see roundabouts or something put in that neighborhood. North Miami Avenue, it's like I-95. They're speeding through there. There's no control over it, and we've asked several times for police to do their little radar checks and stuff like that to try to control it. I'm not certain where they're at with it, but we still have a problem. And yeah, we're asking for more code enforcement in the area. And the other thing is with planning and zoning, the encroachment of the businesses in the residential neighborhood. That's something that we have a very serious concern, and that's not just Buena Vista Heights, but I'm quite sure it's all the adjacent neighborhoods to the businesses. And that's something that terribly needs to be addressed as far as changing zoning to accommodate the businesses and not giving considerations to the neighborhoods. We're the ones that were there before they decided to come and try to make all of their money. We need to do something very serious about this upzoning.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, now we have Buena Vista West. Oh, Miss Alma.
Hey, Alma.
How are you?
Good evening. My name is Alma Brown, and I'm president of Buena Vista West. And our boundaries are south to Northwest 38th Street, Northwest 2nd Avenue, and Northwest 54th Street to 6th Avenue. And I have here with me two of my board members, Mrs. Marilyn Randall and Mrs. Marguerite Rayford, sitting right there. I'd just like to thank our representatives here from the city for allowing us this forum this evening so that we can voice our opinions and make you more familiar with what's going on in our community. In priority order, these are the top needs of BVNA. Number one, crime. Additional policing of known high crime and drug trafficking locations. And I got this from our mayor's newsletter about the police's implement a crime reduction public police surveillance camera system, strategically assigned to monitor already identified high drug trafficking hotspot crime areas. Public surveillance systems include a network of cameras and components for monitoring, recording, and transmitting video images. The goal of this would be the ultimate goal of installing public surveillance cameras to rid the community of heavy drug trafficking, vandalism of property, personal and other crimes associated with drug use. Code enforcement. Immediate attention to abandoned homes. We need to look at shortcuts to resolving specific architectural and abandoned home complaints made by residents. For example, revise specific language, moving the process past banks and out-of-town property owners, which holds up the process for resolving problems. Reduce the time spent with processing paperwork, resulting in a quicker solution to the problem. Also resulting in a more sanitary and beautiful community. Also in our area in Buena Vista West, we have a drainage system problem. and with street flooding. And the proper drainage to prevent street flooding and standing water, which attracts mosquitoes and other diseases associated with standing water. Repair broken sidewalks. We also have an unsolved problem of closing of the alleyways in Buena Vista West. And we'd like to have and implement an ongoing home and community makeover plan and other activities. Set aside funds to assist homeowners in repainting and making repairs to their homes. Provide funds to complete an unfinished beautification project from Northwest 46th Street and 5th Avenue through 54th Street and 5th Avenue. We need new signage in our community stating what we can do, what the violations are. Because we all know when law ends, tyranny begins. We need to have a complete makeover in our community, which will yield a positive outcome for families and children. A beautiful environment yields beautiful and healthy people. And quickly, these are our top priorities. We need police visibility, street loitering, speeding in resident areas need to be addressed, code enforcement, abandoned homes, illegal dumping on empty lots. I have specific areas that I will present at a later time. I don't know who this falls under, but we need massive tree trimming in our area. And closing alleyways in Buena Vista West, unresolved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, is there anybody here from Little Haiti Business District? Come on up. You're the next contestant. How are you? Good.
My name is Joanne Malord. I'm the director. My name is Joanne Malord. I'm the director of Northeast 2nd Avenue Partnership. We're a nonprofit dedicated to revitalizing Little Haiti. So we do a lot of different things in the community, such as economic development, beautification projects, advocacy, as we're doing here tonight. We also provide resources to citizens on patrol. And so I'm here representing the Little Haiti Business Association. We founded them a few months ago, and it's all the businesses in the corridor who have joined together. So like a lot of you who have talked about the issues that you have, we have issues with graffiti, we have the stray dogs too. I would love to see, especially Northeast 2nd Avenue, become more pedestrian friendly, maybe adding some crosswalks, similar to what we have along Biscayne Boulevard. Thank you.
And would you just tell us what that area is, how long it is?
The Little Haiti Business Association covers all commercial corridors that are within Little Haiti. Primarily, as of now, we're focused on Northeast 2nd Avenue between 54th Street and 62nd Street. But we also do all the way up to the city limits and as far west as the highway.
All right, great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mimo Biscayne Association, Magnolia Park. Is there anybody here from Magnolia Park? I didn't see him. No, okay. Is there any Mimo Biscayne Association? You want to speak on that? You want me to speak on it? Okay. Mimo Biscayne Association. By the way, the past president of that association in the back, Ms. Fran Rollison, was one of the first presidents of that association, and I was her vice president for many, many years. So the deal is with that, the historic district runs from 50th Street all the way up to 77th Street, up to the canal, with the exception of the two buildings on either side of that, because that hotel that's on the northwest corner is not historically designated, but the district runs that far. We are also fighting all the same fights that Northeast 2nd Avenue is. We've got some major things coming up which you'll be made aware of as far as a traffic study that's being done and putting parking back on Biscayne Boulevard to make it more calming, traffic calm. And we lost 75 of them when they redid the boulevard. So 75 parking spaces were taken away when they redid the boulevard. So we're back to trying to put them back on. It will make the whole Biscayne Boulevard corridor a lot more pedestrian friendly. So, and of course, we also are working on creating a bid in that district, so that we can have direct control over the businesses and the corridor and the tax base that's there. Did I cover everything? Okay, the other thing is that the Vagabond opened up. You should stop by and have a drink. So, stop by and have a drink up there, and that's enough said on that. So, all right, then we have North Palm Grove, or Morningside, and Adam Dunshee is going to speak for Morningside. Come on over here because no feedback.
All right. Hi. Thank you for the introduction, Bob. My name is Adam Dunshee. I'm the Vice President of the Morningside Civic Association. Hi, camera. First off, thanks, Mr. Mayor and City staff for making the time to come out tonight, and thank you everybody for freeing up your own time to come out and show your concern. Morningside boundaries run from Northeast 50th Terrace to Northeast 60th, east of the Boulevard. Half of the neighborhood is historic, and it's actually the first historic district in the city. The historic part runs from Northeast 55th Street onto that northern boundary I just described. Relevant to the three areas that we're all touching upon tonight, in the area of zoning, people have touched upon this in varying degrees, but a significant part of the neighborhood runs or abuts Biscayne Boulevard, and at the moment there's a lot of investor confidence and a wave of development coming onto those particular properties that have either been vacant, abandoned, or varying state of disarray. But the one thing that sparing individual cases, I think that I can say that we're not particularly interested in seeing a wave of rezonings, especially in the aftermath of Miami 21 and rezoning the entire city, just becoming part of the law of the city. And moving into the areas of code compliance. Fortunately, we don't have any hot button issues in that particular area. But in the area of capital improvements, at the eastern boundary of the neighborhood lies Morningside Park, which is shared real estate for all of us here in District 2 and District 5, since it's the second largest park in the city. And a chronic problem inside the park and also outside in the perimeter of the park, primarily towards the northwest part, 55th Terrace, 55th Street, in that area, is drainage as well. And in the past, Capital Improvements and Public Works have collaborated on a short-term solution, but we'd like to, work on something more long-term and solving those drainage issues before they become a much larger issue in the event of a storm or other force majeure. And also, one other thing that probably some of you have seen, the prospectus or the tentative budget or this proposals for spending of impact fees that has been circulated now since it's budget season within the city and also the county. There's a handful of projects that touch upon Morningside, and depending upon who you ask, some would say that we need aggressive redevelopment in the park, some would say we need minimal development in the park. But there are some projects that are highlighted within that particular document, and but the figures that are attached to them, need some elaboration, and we'd like to work together with the Parks Department and Capital Improvements towards developing something that's a little bit closer to reality. Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Adam. Grove. Robert Hernandez.
Thank you. My name is Robert Hernandez. I'm here representing North Palm Grove Community Organization. Our boundaries are the Little River, Northeast 77th Street on the north, Biscayne Boulevard on the east, Northeast 4th Court on the west, and 70th Street on the south. We are actually part of the largest residential historic district in the city of Miami, which is Palm Grove. We're very proud of that. And listening to a lot of the other communities in the city, it seems like we have a common theme in just about all the neighborhoods. You hear the same issues being repeated over and over again. Like was said, specifically the people here today that are here to listen to us, CIP, we have a road project that started 3 years ago that still is not complete. We keep meeting and asking for when that project is going to be done. We have no response yet. We're waiting for a lighting project in our neighborhood that was promised, a landscape project in our neighborhood that was promised, hasn't begun. We don't know when that's going to begin. We have code enforcement issues, things going on in the neighborhood. Doesn't seem like permits are being pulled, things are being done. No enforcement. We don't really see anyone in the area. Zoning, we have actually an issue before the commission coming up on Monday of a preschool in the middle of our neighborhood. We have opposed it. We went before all the hearing boards. It's being appealed. Six times, and it's going before the commission on Monday, and we hope that it will finally be put to rest, that we don't want that in the middle of a residential neighborhood. So we have threats all around us, and we need to be vigilant, and that's what we're here to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Miss Oakland Grove. Jackie Collier. Pardon me. Jackie Collier.
Hi, this is Kathy Collier.
Hi, I'm Jackie Collier, and I'm the president of Oakland Grove Neighborhood Association. Our boundaries are 82nd Street on the south to 85th Street or 87th Street, whichever, as it relates to the little river that runs through, the north side of our neighborhood. And from Northeast 2nd Avenue to the railroad tracks on the eastern side of the neighborhood. It's really just a little small neighborhood. And at times we thought of seceding from the city and joining El Portel, but it's going to be really, really hard to do. And we really thought about it because the taxes aren't that much different. But getting back to the serious side of this, and that is what we really want in Oakland Grove is that CIP, Parks, Code Enforcement, Public Works, and all the departments kind of work together and collaborate. Because the one thing that we found just recently is that the Oakland Grove Mini Park was closed. Nobody spoke to the neighbors. Nobody spoke to the neighborhood association. Thank goodness the newcomer on the block was sent out to kind of put out fires, Mr. Stan Motley. And it was just interesting to me that, and those of you who live in the city, Frank probably knows this better than anybody, they're all on the same floor together, or all in the same building together, but they don't talk to each other. So as a result, you have 15 friggin' people coming into your neighborhood doing things, and nobody knows what the other one is doing. At one point, I thought we had a net office that coordinated that kind of activity, but it doesn't happen anymore. So I would like to see, and the net office representative had no idea that our park was going to be closed. So that's just one thing. I'd really like to see more collaboration within the city of Miami so that you don't have to have 15 meetings with 15 different departments, but that the departments all get together so that neighbors can come together to our little respective meetings and talk to you about what's going on in our neighborhoods. Mayor Regalado, I'm really appreciative that you came out tonight. I want to thank you, and I want to thank all of you for coming. But this could be so much easier if you just had some type of coordinated meeting where we could all meet with you. Third thing is that second thing is we want our mini park back within at least in 2014. So we're hoping that we'll be able to get that. Third thing is CIP, I think it was, did a big project in our neighborhood because we had flooding, severe flooding. But what it did was to shift the flooding from one street to the next street. So now we have flooding that is on 85th Street, which is where the canal, the river is. So it just makes a mess. Fourth thing is that 82nd Terrace is now and has been for a very, very long time used as a street to, when people don't want to drive down 82nd Street, they zip around to 82nd Terrace and they speed through the neighborhood, killing 3 cats and 1 dog. And I think that, at some point, somebody ought to just at least look back on all of the traffic calming studies that have been done on 82nd Terrace and listen to us and help us get that straightened out. And then I like what Spring Garden has done, and that's a part of District 5 as well. And that is that that neighborhood got together and did a real assessment of what's going on in their neighborhood and also put together a strategic plan. So they have been able to do, don't think it's a fast process. There's no such thing as speed in the city. But they do have a plan for their neighborhood that has really helped them as it relates to encroachment by businesses and as it relates to code enforcement and as it relates to them being a historical neighborhood. So those are the things that Oakland Grove would really, really like to see done. And 82nd Terrace would be our #1 priority if we were really looking at things.
Stay right there, because I got to ask you. Okay, so don't go anywhere, because I want you to do this. Part of the reason for putting this all together is so that all of you guys now know all the presidents of all these different districts. What I would like to do is in the next 10 days to 2 weeks is we all meet, we as presidents meet, or vice presidents, and we'll get to the people who have been left out or aren't on the list in a minute, and meet to discuss just that type of a strategy, how we can strategize to start to use the city services to their best and fullest use. Because not that the city won't do it, that isn't the point. We as the people have to put that together and all work with one voice to make that all happen, correct?
Yeah, because when the people lead, the city will follow. So it's about us really standing up, stepping up, and requiring that our representatives and the people whose salaries we pay, do this. Yeah. All right, Jerome and I will get together.
All right, so get with Jerome, Sheila, Jerome, and Jackie. If you're and that's even for people who aren't in District 5, because the way we're looking at this is that everything north of 36th Street and west of and east of I-95, we consider it all one neighborhood, and we really need to start looking at it that way because we all share the same project, rich and poor alike. You've heard everybody talk about the same problems. Shorecrest, you're up. You're the next contestant. Come on down. We'll get to me. I'll go last. Did he? Okay. Okay, great.
Ken Jett, I am the current president of Shorecrest HOA. I'd like all the Shorecrest people to stand up just so we get a little idea of who's in the room. I have the utmost positive regard for everyone up here that I know. You all know most of my issues. Many of the issues are still outstanding. Crime is creeping up on us. We'll deal with that at our HOA meeting next week with Commander Papier. You know that we have Tokyo Valentino, which is a sex shop that should be in an industrial zone. It's not. It's next to a youth mentoring program. We have the Little River Club, which they are currently working on. We have the 79th Street FDOT project is going to start really soon. And despite the city's efforts to be able to help us get those traffic patterns changed, we will still be stuck with the same 3-1 traffic pattern. In addition to those things, we have the city has on the agenda to vacate over 300 alleys in the city. The very first one is in our neighborhood, Shorecrest, and a public alley in that location. It's right on the Biscayne Bay. So they're giving away, or they're signing back over to the owner, waterfront property. In addition to that, it only takes driving down 79th Street and Biscayne. If you start at 87, Ginger, can you show the panel that picture? At 87th and Biscayne, right next to the Welcome to the City of Miami sign, there is a huge out-of-scale sign for 6 months rent-free at the new storage place. But even given that issue, if you drive down 79th Street, you see all of the LED signs, all of the used car automobile places that are parking on the street, using on-street parking for a sales lot. So there are issues everywhere. My issues, our issues are the same as what I'm hearing tonight. So hopefully we can start a dialogue and actually accomplish something rather than keeping things in the hopper.
Thank you very much.
Boundaries. North of Little River Canal, so about north of 78th, and east of Little River Canal, so about northeast 4th Court, dodging into northeast 2nd Court, over to Pelican Harbor Seabird Station. It even includes that. Thanks.
Up to what at the north?
87th Street, all the way at the north. They have the north boundary of the city of Shorecrest, and over to Federal Highway or Biscayne Boulevard. And Peter Ehrlich with Lemon City. Now, did I miss anybody else? Is there any other neighborhood association not represented? Okay, going once, twice, 3, sold.
You're the last speaker, 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Bob. My name is Peter Ehrlich from Lemon City, and I want to thank the organizers tonight, Bob Powers, Schiller Jerome, Ken Jett, and everybody else that was involved, and the mayor, Thomas Regalado, and our directors, our many directors that are here from the city of Miami to hear everybody's issues. I'm in Lemon City, and the borders are approximately west of the railroad tracks, approximately 54th Street, north to approximately 61, 62. As many of you probably know, 100 years ago, all of this area was Lemon City. Historically, back 150 years. As many of you might not realize it, but we have over 30 companies in Lemon City, and I have a waiting list of 40 companies that would like to move in. We don't allow any graffiti, and there's practically no garbage on the streets. We pay for pickup every single day, and we have very, very little crime. A couple car break-ins, but no other crime other than that. And we're getting a lot of recognition nationwide for the improvements to Lemon City. So I hope you'll all patronize the businesses there and consider moving your businesses there if you want to relocate somewhere else in the city.
What are the boundaries?
They're approximately the railroad tracks, west of the railroad tracks, and then approximately 54th Street, north to 61, 62, and to 2nd Avenue. We have some property on 2nd Avenue also, but it's not very large, and it's primarily commercial. Thank you all very much.
Okay, and that takes into consideration another thing, because there's also the breakout of, we have 3 or 4 business districts also within our community that we also need to think about. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn it over to the mayor, but before I turn it over to the mayor real quick, did I cover everything? Okay, I'm going to turn it over to the mayor so he can blow out of here. So here he is. Here's the mayor of the city of Miami, Tomas Regalado.
Thank you. I guess that Peter is used to 2 minutes before the clock again. But that's okay. He can say a lot of things in 2 minutes. First, I'd like to thank you. I don't think I have attended in my first term or as a city commissioner, first citywide and then by district for 14 years, a meeting like this. I think it's a great idea. I think is, I've come here many times to hear Morningside or Shorecrest or other neighborhoods. But I think this is a good idea. This is a great thing to get a coalition of people, and then we can have a conversation of many of the issues with the different areas. I'm not here to give you excuses. I'm just here to listen, and we have several directors, and I can promise you that everything will be reported back to the different departments. Before I start, I'd like to read to you a letter that I got in the mail on Monday, dated September 16, from the Florida Department of State. And it says, Dear Mayor Regalado, it is a pleasure to advise you that the Florida National Register Review Board has recommended that the above referenced property be formally nominated for listing in the National Register of Historic Places. It's about the Vagabond Motel, 7301 Biscayne Boulevard. I have to give this to Abra. So this is your letter, madam. I think, I think it's important because what she's doing in the boulevard is what we all wish many years ago. And I can tell you, in 96, when I was elected citywide, I came here, and some residents, and we went to Edgewater, and we went to other areas north, and that was a horrible area. It was prostitution, drugs, and now it's incredible. And I think that by having this honor, we're sending a message to investors and to residents that the boulevard is changing forever. And I have another good news. In about 2 weeks, Gloria Estefan will be having a press conference, probably with Jimmy Buffett at the Miami Marine Stadium to announce two big deals that are going to be part of the reconstruction and renovation of the Miami Marine Stadium. But I can tell you, because it has been already published, I'll know in detail that the Paul Getty Foundation has adopted the Miami Marine Stadium as one of the icons of the 20th century that they have to preserve. And so this is important. I think that for the first time in the city of Miami, we are taking care of historic places, and this is important. So, Abra, congratulations. I guess that we're going to have more ribbon cuttings and hopefully more letters from the Florida Department of the State. Several things has been said here, and I just want to give you a report of what happened last night at the City Commission. We had a very, very good budget meeting. It only lasted about 2 hours, which is a record for the city of Miami, or any government for that matter. But let me tell you what happened. In July 9, and by charter, the mayor of the city is in charge of working with the administration to create a budget and present it to the commission. In July 9, we presented the city commission a budget book for their reading and studying and discussing with their staff prior to the meeting of September. And in that budget, we asked the commission to approve several things. And some of the things are being said here. Number one, we asked the commission, which they did in the final, budget last night to give us an allocation to have 2 more crews for public work. One for working on the streets in terms of sidewalks and potholes, and the other one for tree trimming. Unfortunately, the Florida Power and Light, by law, is required to trim trees when you have cables that are crossing and tangled. They try to not to do it. They would say to the city, well, we can do it, we feel that that's not a problem. So the city has taken on a lot of responsibility in terms of tree trimming. Hopefully we will have that additional crew and we will be able to guarantee that we will be responding. The other allocation that was approved yesterday as requested by the administration is more people for the planning department for the tree permitting department, because there is a backlog. Developers are trying to move the trees. We are requesting what I believe is one of the strongest ordinance that any city has in terms of litigation. We are having this issue now in Magnolia Park, where a developer is going to pay for the renovation of the park, and he needs to mitigate trees, a lot of them, in exchange for one tree that they need to move. So that was approved yesterday. Another thing that will be dealt with on Monday will be the alley closure. What has been happening is that we have noticed, and the police has also, that a lot of crime in residential areas, like the roads in Flagami, here up north, comes through the alleys. People get into those alleys, and so a lot of people had just taken over the alley and they just do it. So we're going to allow the people to take on those alleys. Of course, you have to pay more property taxes because it's more, and also allow the community to appeal. They will have an appeal period if that alley closure is not in the benefit of the public. So that's coming up on Monday. What the commission did is that it approved our final proposal of police officers. And I will tell you that in July 9, the administration, our budget had money for 20 new additional police officers. This is not filling the vacancies created by officers that are retiring. 20 new additional. Last year we had 35 new additional police officers. Actually this year we are okay because only 3 police officers are retiring. Next year it will be more, and in 16 we will have around 80. So these are the 20 additional that we proposed. Then we went to the commission on the first hearing, and we heard the residents and we heard the commission, and we were able to come back with 50 police officers. Meanwhile, the Omni CRA, which is an agency of the City of Miami in the Omni area, and the Overtown Park West CRA, they allocated funding for 6 new police officers. Remember, those officers will be patrolling the Omni area and the CRA area. They are allowed, those agencies are allowed to pay to enhance public safety. So there will be 6 additional officers in the Omni, 6 additional officers in the Overtown Park West. And then we got in the debate, and we finally settled with 80 new officers. This number will put the city of Miami in a very good position, because it will give us 3 officers for each 1,000 residents, which is what the ratio of any big city, except New York, has a 4.5. Big cities have. So we will have, when we hire these 80 new officers, the largest number of sworn police officers ever in the history of the city of Miami. So you will see visibility. As a matter of fact, there is a process to select the new chief, because Chief Orosa is retiring at the beginning of next year. So we will have that more visibility. We believe that we can be more proactive in terms of expediting the hiring, although we want to be very prudent with the background checks, because maybe I've lived in the Coral Way area since 1961, when I was sent as a child from Cuba. I've never moved from the Coral Way Roads area, so I remember Miami, and as a reporter I also covered Miami. And when the Mario boat lift happened, the city of Miami rushed to hire police officers because crime went up in a horrible way, and they hired a lot of police officers. 3 or 4 years later, we had the Miami River Cops issue, where 69 police officers were arrested by the FBI for corruption. So background takes a lot of time. They didn't do a good job of background in the Coral Gables manager's selection, but as a matter of fact, this is what we're doing. We have had 20 background investigators to expedite. So we think that we can get those officers, and they will be up and ready to go. I think that this budget is a good budget. We have a reserve of close to $100 million, which is what our own ordinance requires. It's not a law, it's not the state, it's not the federal government. It's an own ordinance that requires to have a certain amount of reserve. So why do we need a reserve? Well, for many reasons, you need a reserve because, like everyone of us, if something happens, you need a reserve. But more important, to save money to the residents. The more reserve we have, the less interest we pay